Hey there, thanks for joining us. I'm Rebecca with the Connext Exchange, and I'm here with Brent Robertson and Matt Reiniger of Fathom to continue the conversation about how Create What's Needed created what's needed. So for those of you who are familiar with the Connext Exchange, you may not know that this started from the Create What's Needed online forum that began in response to a global pandemic over a year ago. And it came from Brent and Matt at Fathom. So we had the opportunity to revisit and take a look back, and that's what we did. And it's so hard to believe that a whole year already has gone by. So if we can, for the purpose of grounding this conversation, let's rewind to, mid-March 2020. How did this online forum come about?
Well, it was inspired by an unprecedented situation that we were all in. We had all been spirited away back to our homes when everything started closing down. We were, disconnected from ways of working and relating to each other. And suddenly we were in this virtual space. And Brent and I thought, well, what is Fathom's response to this? What's needed now? And we felt like a space for community to come and gather and to just be with each other in this unpredictable time, and also to explore, what possibilities might exist, even amidst the chaos and the confusion and the uncertainty. What are the lessons that we could learn and teach each other about opportunities for adaptation, even in this moment, and more generally, just to provide kind of strength and sharing with each other, and to adopt a spirit of curiosity about the whole thing. So we created a invitation to join us, and people showed up, and they kept showing up, and we did a limited run of initially of every day, so that people would know that this was a place that existed and they could come. And people brought other people, and we brought speakers and facilitators of different kinds of conversations, and it sort of grew from there. And as because one of the outgrowths of that was the Connext Exchange itself, for a bunch of people who wanted to continue to have that space in their week to what? You tell me,
Yeah. And there were a couple key questions offered for the Create What's Needed online forum, with the desire to design what was next. So there was a study done after these conversations. There was a report. What were the things that stood out to you about that report in real time when it actually happened?
Something that started to emerge pretty early on was a world that prioritized more ... And what seemed to keep coming up when we asked that question, prioritize more ... was purpose, like a sense of purpose, like a more purposeful life, a more purposeful world came up. The idea of a world that prioritized more humanity, that humanity as an overall, the elevation of humanity, if that was more prioritized. And then the third was whether it be voiced as generosity or abundance, but that we would really focus on, like, how do we create in a more abundant world for all of us? And so those became sort of the three legs of the stool. I don't know if you remember early on, we did an exercise and we invited it, like, what else? And we put all these sticky notes. I still have a picture of it. We had those three circles. We put all these sticky notes on there to see what else will come up. And I think that might have inspired the desire to actually, let's make this a little bit more rigorous and put together a research study. And Matt really was the engineer behind that.
Yeah, and for me, looking back at the study, besides the things that Brent said, there seemed to be just an awakening of a curiosity about reevaluating, the way that one constructs your own life, and in response to what you believe is important. And some of that, there was no choice about it because of what happened with the pandemic. But there was a reflection on the way that we fill our time, the things that we do, the relationships that we count as important, and a real curiosity about how else could I be, in this time and moving forward. What would it be like? It seemed like an opportunity almost to reinvent ourselves, at least privately. And so that was something that came through in these conversations and in the study.
Yeah, and it feels like as the world is starting to open up, we have this real individual challenge to ourselves of what are we going to just fall back into and where can we be intentional? And I think that was certainly a theme in our conversation at Connext as we revisited 1 year later, this opportunity to be intentional. So I wonder what stood out to each of you about the conversation, which was interesting also that it was a mix of people that have been there since the beginning and people that have recently discovered the Connext Exchange, but certainly could relate to the world before, the world in transition, and what's to come. What jumped out at you?
But, one of the things in retrospect is the sense that doing this study was important. Certainly in the moment it was, but I think what's been interesting is how unbelievably relevant it is a year later. So I think it was nice to gather the insights in the moment we were in the thick of in the beginning stages of the pandemic, but now its relevancy as applied, like how are we going to apply this as we start to enter into a reentry mode? It's just crazy, like a year later. So just a takeaway for me is again, trust your instincts. And the idea that we may not fully understand the value of what it is we're doing, and that's okay, but to pay attention because the value of it may extend. And I think that's been for me, one of the most beautiful things about Thursday, which I didn't expect, was just the thoughtful, emotional, just really beautiful expressions people had about what this was for them in that time. And again, we had someone, I think it was their first time ever to a Connext Exchange, coming to this event was pretty wild, but we've a lot of folks that had been through this thing the whole time. And it was it was really powerful just to see firsthand with these really generous statements about how important having this thing that we could count on every day or every week, how much it mattered to those that have been involved in this thing.
Yeah. How about for you, Matt?
I mean, Brent kind of nailed it, but I mean, I guess beyond that, it was just interesting to think about how different people were looking towards the next phase of time and how it's really not, in a way, when this all went down, it was similar for a lot of people. I mean, there were people that still needed to be out and about, and the shutdown didn't mean as much to them. But in this time, everyone's transitioning differently, and you can't have total control over what kind of world is being created, but you can have some choice and influence over your experience of it. And so it was very interesting to explore what are the things that really matter to everyone and what is it that they want to make sure that they can create conditions for, as we move forward into a new kind of unknown.
Yeah. Something that jumped out to me was hearing people's strategies for how to hold and preserve the space that they valued when things slowed down. And someone had shared going back into the office and into the structure where maybe others are scheduling their time, and how it was about coming up with the right language so others would recognize a non-negotiable time. So I wonder, as two individuals in the business of helping others design futures that they want, if I'm thinking about a change in my life or something I don't want to go back to, I've created something that's needed in my life. Do you have any thoughts about how to hold on to that? What strategies in terms of boundaries or creating and holding space to design the future you want?
I think in the simplest way, it would be to say, okay, what did I learn or experience that made an appreciable difference in my life over this time? And then how would I create conditions in my life that would favor those things? And I think that's really it. And I think the idea that, and that's why these communities matter so much, is we need to know we're not alone that we feel like it's important to hold the line on some of this stuff. To say, I'm unwilling to go back. Sorry, I'm just calling it. I'm calling the line. I'm like putting the line in the sand. I'm not going to return to that. I think to know that you're not alone in that is really important, because if you're feeling alone and you're seeing the mechanism of whatever institution you're part of, trying to pull you back into, whatever, that we need each other to know that we're not alone. We can stand in that collective confidence.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, just that, your power is your voice, and you can not just talk about what you want, but why it matters to you. And that is, that's a place to stand in and to come from when you're defining what you want to be true for you and what really matters. And people can respond to it in different ways, but it helps to declare what really matters to you, and have that be the basis of any kind of conversation where others might be looking at it differently, including, employers.
Yeah. So I think for people that have been using this time as a growth opportunity, or maybe self-care, investing in themselves, the idea of getting back to normal has become somehow offensive. That normal wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So again, moving forward, what do we want to hold on to and hold space for? And Brent, on Thursday, you gave a wonderful invitation to, if you're feeling like something needs to be done, just go with it. And I know that this was started as an experiment, and the impact and the benefits have been amazing in terms of friendships and collaborations and growth, and just you couldn't have known at all. So for each of you, I wonder again, when you look back at the Create What's Needed online forum, what stands out to you most? Or maybe when you look back at this year, like for you, what is a non-negotiable? What are you holding space for moving forward when normal starts to push you around?
Good question. I mean, I think there's a lot to it, and it's all just sort of something that you don't even know fully what it is that you want to hold on to until the possibility of it being taken away starts to present itself, and then you find out what really, really matters to you. But I mean, for me, just like in general, the ability to interact and engage in this sort of flexible way, in this virtual way, to have professional endeavors integrated into my family experience has been invaluable, and to be so much more a part of my almost 2-year-old son's life, than I had been. And that's something I will not give up. So.
Yeah. For me, there was a sense of something as personally entering into 2020, which was the idea of community. What if we could create a community that provided everything we ever needed for everyone involved in that community? Has been a dream. And I think 2020 was a proving grounds that it's possible. And I'll just channel a quote that came up pervasive through this whole experience from Margaret Wheatley, which is, there's nothing more powerful than a community that discovers what matters to it. And look at what we did. We were open in discovering what matters to us, and the fruit that community has created is impossible to account for. Talk about abundance.
Yeah, it's been incredible. So as we wrap up, how can people connect with you, Brent and Matt, or learn more about Fathom, or find the study that resulted from the forum?
So we'll provide a link to the study. Because it was done a year ago, we're actually working to get it promoted on the homepage, but it's not there yet. So we'll provide a link directly to the study, but certainly encourage everyone to go to fathom.net, where you can get access to not just that study, but so many other useful insights, et cetera, in the realm of purpose and performance and community.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to us directly. We love to chat about anything that it sparks people's imaginations about what's possible for them and the communities that matter to them. So you can reach out to us on LinkedIn or through the Fathom website. We'd love to chat.
Awesome. Thank you both for a great conversation on Thursday and for joining me again here today. And thank you for having an idea and deciding to experiment, because this conversation and so many others in between would not have been possible without following that feeling. So thank you, Matt, and thank you, Brent, and thank you all for watching. We
Thank you
hope
for running with it. Thank
yeah,
you.
it was
That's
good.
it. Yeah, thank you for carrying it on. The season of Create What's Needed was over, and something else was needed, which you and the team have taken to a whole nother level. It's incredible. We're now guests. It's so cool to be guests in this new form where we were hosts before.
Yeah, fully welcomed guest, arms wide open. But you created a space for these conversations and for people to connect again as humans. And it's so needed. And I hope we can continue to grow and make the community bigger. So thank you again. And we hope to see you on an upcoming Thursday, every Thursday at 11:30. We have a different topic, a different thought leader, and everyone is welcome. So we hope to see you then.